For those of you guys and girls who love the CFL, it's already week 19. We have 3 weeks of games left. My main man from the Saskatchewan Roughriders beat and radio, Britton Gray, is here with me. But before we get into anything Roughriders related, look, I haven't spoken to you that much since the news broke of the new rules. So instead of going into depth details, because obviously like we said, everyone's had time to react to it. So what's the gauge that I'd say mainly because I know there's a lot of people from Riders who love like the Canadian game. But what's
Mhm.
your gauge on like, or how do you feel about everything that's been going on with the league?
So I probably feel a little bit differently than a lot of people in Saskatchewan because I like the rule changes. I'm willing to at least see where they're going to go, what's going to happen,
Yeah.
give them a chance, right? I'm in the young, early 30s, and so like my friend group, there's not a lot of guys who watch CFL. It's kind of a place where they just lost a lot of fans. NFL, a lot of my friends and people I talk to watch the NFL. And so I'm willing to let's see it because I just think that to not allow the CFL an opportunity to at least try something, see where it goes, try and increase revenue maybe from a new TV deal, right? That's what I think this is about. Expansion. Now you have the ability to expand to Halifax with that the new soccer stadium there. Just add 10,000 seats to that. You can now fit a CFL field in that. So that's why I like the changes. I want to see what happens with them. But of course, in Saskatchewan, the CFL works here, right? The CFL's king. Why change something that's working here? And so that's why a lot of people are against it. But we have to realize Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, they're their own kind of beasts when it comes to the CFL. Yes, it works there, but it isn't working other places right now. And I like them trying something. At least they're trying something different, see where it goes. But I do agree with other people. Don't get more Americanized. Kind of there has to be a line, and 4 downs don't go there. We do not need 4 downs in the CFL, but these are changes I can live with.
I write for 3 Down Nation, not 4 Down Nation as well. The other thing too, so I'll be honest with you. At Saturday's game, I actually had the chance to talk to Stewart for a little bit. He was down the field, me and another reporter. We were just like talking to him, chumming it up, and I got the great sense of like where he's coming from, and I also like the fact like where he's explaining it, where it's like, hey, like I heard people asking about the kickoff, which is like, no, they're not going to there because obviously in the American game at the NFL, there's a lot more of that car crash element with the kickoffs. Meanwhile, with the CFL, you don't really see that. You don't see people getting blasted or getting hurt or severely injured on these kickoffs. That's why the NFL changed it. He's just basically doing it where it's like, hey, I'm the new commissioner, not even 6 months into my tenure. The board of governors basically said, hey, we want you to be proactive as the Jays get out of the 6th inning jam. Basically, he was proactive. The board of governors wanted someone proactive, and I'm just piecing parts of the conversation together, but he wanted to basically say, hey, I want to change the game, but I want to keep it at its grassroots. We're keeping 3rd down. Motion's another one that's staying. 12 men on the field, all that stuff. There's like nothing changing there. It's just tinkering with it too. And even like looking at the changing of the field dimensions, the biggest one I love is the away benches just going to both sides. Like, hey, like obviously we don't get many magical moments anymore with like Ryan Dinwiddie kicking the sidelines after the Edmonton game. That's like my claim to fame this year because I got picked up on it by a bunch of sites and I got credit for it. So I was like, because I was the one who asked him, so I was like, yay me. But no, like I get where he's coming from, and I always liked it because I understand the traditionalists too, where it's like you're changing something, but at the same time too, I just said change is a part of life. No matter what we do in our day-to-day life, you got to change. Change. It sucks for some people, but it's one of those things where eventually I think people will get to it, but I feel like there still is a contingency of fans he's going to have to win back. I'll also say this too. The timing of the announcement could not have been more perfect because you do this the week of Grey Cup, which he's still going to have to face music on. That's without a doubt for the reporters that are there. But to do it in that time when he did it 2 weeks ago, where there's not a lot of news, NHL's in training camp, you basically did it to where, hey, CFL was dominating every single headline, no matter where you look. So I give him a lot of props. I give him a lot of just like, kudos and just an overall sense of like, hey, I feel like the league's heading in a good direction. I don't know if I had a problem with what Nathan Rourke said. I just find it weird that the guy who went down to hone his craft in the States to then come back was the one who's been the most vocal player in the league against it. But at the same time, too, with the goalposts, the one thing I said to Stewart that he agreed with is it no longer makes those like 50-yarders a guarantee. It makes, hey, you got to work a little bit harder to get within, the 30, 35-yard range, because he did confirm to me that it is going to be like the NFL where it is 17 yards from where the ball is. So if you get to the 30-yard, it's going to be a 47-yard kick.
Yeah, I'm never going to fault Nathan Rourke for going down south. I mean, get the money.
Oh, I'm not either. It's
yeah,
just the rules and everything.
It's funny, yeah, but he came out and was so forward right after being down in the States. But hey, good on him for feeling that intense about it, right? Like, absolutely show that emotion. That's what we like to see from guys. Show that you care, and so good on him for that. Yeah, and for me, it only comes down to I still feel like the CFL, the spirit of it is still there, as you mentioned. 12 men still on the field. It's still wider than the NFL field. It feels like the spirit is still there, and these are moves that maybe, like I said, make it more easier for maybe to sell it to an American network to at least get American better deal down there. Have Halifax, maybe that's a possibility, and other places for expansion, because you weren't convincing anywhere to spend the money to build a stadium for a CFL field. No one's doing it. Cities are tired of spending taxpayer money on these massive stadiums, and so you weren't selling that anywhere.
No, and I feel like, too, with the university game, the one thing that because that was another point that's come up, because obviously I know McMahon, I know McGill, and I know the Bombers share. I believe the Riders share with
Yes and no. The University of Regina do play games at Mosaic Stadium, but they do have another field here, Liable Field, that they actually play a majority at now. It's just when the U of S Huskies are in town, they'll move to Mosaic Stadium, or junior football, the Regina Thunder, they'll play at Liable Field, but when the Saskatoon Hilltops are in town, they'll move to Mosaic Stadium. So kind of a hybrid.
Basically, the way we were going about that part of it as well is you can keep the field dimensions the same for those stadiums. You just basically pick the goalposts up and you move them back, because guess what? Those goalposts don't stay. It's not like a foul pole at a baseball game, which is a very fitting thing right now, but it's one of those things where those things come out after every game. It's like how Toronto and the BC share soccer stadiums, which is a huge talking point going into next season as well. So
yeah,
I think it's just one of those things where it's like you got to give it time, you got to let it marinate. But eventually, I feel like the people that are talking about boycott the league or like get rid of the season tickets, you might have some, but for the most part, people are going to stay, because at the end of the day, they know it's the game we love. It's getting a new look, and it's about hey, bringing in some new eyeballs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just like, you're really going to cancel your tickets over 10 yards? That's why you came to watch the CFL game, was the 10 yards?
Abe Simpson me. It's Abe Simpson. Old man yells at cloud. Yeah. That's literally what it is. It's just like there's a difference between saying you're going to do it. Also, too, I'm on way too many Argonaut Facebook groups for this, to where I saw a lot of it. And CFL Twitter is just obviously a lot of what I spend on, to where I see it, to where I want to be like, basically that. Because a lot of these teams, they'll just take they'll say, hey, you have to give the deposit for next year. But at the same time, too, they could just fairly well pull the money out of your account. Riders season ticket holder thinks about canceling. Oh, there's like a couple $100 credit card charge from the Riders. Oh, guess I'm in for 2026. So,
yeah.
it's just one of those things. I just think it's going to take time. And then, like I said, there's going to be people who are pissed off at Stewart, and he's going to have to earn trust back. But at the end of the day, it's still the CFL. It's still the game you love. I don't think Americanizing it is ever going to happen. I think it was just, there was that 24-hour period where it's like, hey, we have a major announcement coming up. And it's like, what's going to happen? This. To where I don't think I've ever seen the CFL world that anxiety written for that period of time ever. And I'm like, they also dropped it to it like 1 o'clock, like as the Sunday slate was kicking off at 1 o'clock, where it's just like, yeah, we're having this press conference tomorrow and all this stuff. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, my Facebook group chats of fantasy football was all about the CFL. So as you mentioned, they dominated the news cycle, which is something they don't do a lot. So good on them.
Exactly. But moving on to your Rough Riders, obviously we'd like to talk about them. They're still the crop of the West right now, getting a good win last week in Ottawa. No, the game was a little close with a 20-13 victory. But through some of the struggles that have happened, obviously there's the ABC, anyone but Calgary. Then the losses in against Montreal and against Edmonton. Where do you feel like the confidence is? Because obviously this is a very big weekend for the Big Green out in the prairies of Canada.
I think the confidence is still high in Saskatchewan. I know that there's been some stumbles here, but when I look at the stumbles, the defense is playing really well right now. The offense has had to get so many people back from injuries that it's kind of a refining each other out phase, kind of work out the rust, because Sam Emlis hasn't played in so long. Keen Schaefer-Baker, you're moving Keyshawn Johnson back out wide. They won't say that that's an issue. I think it is a bit of an issue that they have to kind of work through. And so it's still high in terms of this team in playoffs. There is just such a slim line that this team doesn't finish first in the West that they're going to have the bye week. They're going to have the opportunity to heal up and have someone come into Saskatchewan and play the West Final. So high overall. And just heading into this weekend, I think there's absolutely a lot of confidence because they know what they can accomplish. Yeah, they have some injuries, but they can clinch first place in the West with a win. And the Argos, they're shutting guys down for the season at this point. So heading into this weekend, I still think the confidence is high to have even more of a bounce back because they did struggle at times against the Red Blacks.
Yeah, and then on your point too, like we said, the Argonauts look, Nick Arbuckle's done for the year with a shoulder injury. They never said the extent of it. The last I heard after post game was that he was going for imaging, but at the point everyone assumed it was a dislocation or a break.
Yeah.
No one really said any. They kept the cards close to the vest. The Chad Kelly stuff, I think they were just always trying to keep that door open where it was like, oh, he may play, but then in reality it was, hey, this truly is a year-long injury to get ready from, so he'll be the starter for 26. And then, like you said, the Argonauts are shutting guys down with Wynton McManus going down today, who's pretty much been playing on one leg for pretty much the whole entire season. Mm-hmm. He had the knee injury, he's the groin, he's just beat up, he's hurt. There's no point in further extending the injury when there's nothing to play for. So I don't want to say this year's a write-off, but it's more or less Argonauts have a lot of soul searching to do going into 2026 because, apart from, hey, having to have a new team, having to have a new just overall feel to things, you got to worry about, hey, the first month and a half of the year, we're not at home.
Yeah.
We're either on the road or we're home for the first couple months of the season, as Britton's dogs make an appearance on the show again. No, they're always welcome. But it's one of those things where I think, and also too for everyone saying oh, Ryan Dinwiddie. No, Ryan Dinwiddie's job safe. He's fifth year, first bad year, and he's also won 2 championships. He is fine. Unless, the Red Blacks, I heard this from my guys at 3 Down Nation, their podcast, unless the Ottawa Red Blacks and OSEG wants to throw a cash full of money at him, but I feel like that'd be a really, really expensive out from them to have to pay MLSC to do. Yeah. So, and I think he is signed still through either 26 or 27, so I don't think that's happening. That was just a rumor because obviously you guys ended the Red Black season last week. But no, with the Argonauts, it's just they have the same thing too. They're beat up, they're banged up. It's just while Saskatchewan's found a way, Toronto hasn't. Your season's had bad luck when your star right tackle gets hit by a car while riding a scooter around downtown Toronto. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. It's like, every NFL team goes through. CFL, NFL team goes through. I say NFL because obviously Dallas went through it, I believe, last year as well with some of the injuries with Dak going out. So it's just injuries are a matter of the sport. It's just how well do you respond to them. Saskatchewan stayed afloat. They've locked their core values because I remember the first time you and I spoke, you said, we believe in Edwin Harris, offensive line coach, and the Saskatchewan O-lines held up very well because I know there was a big loss. I believe Philippe Gagnon, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's the player who hurt himself in training camp and was done for the year. So,
Sean McEwen. Sean McEwen was the guy who was done for the year, and we thought Philippe Gagnon as well, but he's back now.
That's who it was, my bad, because I remember both were hurt at the time. That was on training camp. So it just shows that no matter what level of football you're playing or what league you're playing in with football, injuries are something that you have to account for at all times. And it's just one of those things where it sucks, but it is what it is. So, and that's just my big thing with the Argos next year is just selling players on coming in to where it's like, hey, we're probably not going to be playing at BMO Field till I would say at least probably around either right before or right after the August long weekend. And pretty much us against the world mentality, because I still know there's going to be a fair bit of people not against the Argonauts, but against the player, because I know for as much as he did to get back and he rewrited some of his wrongs, there still is a big contingency of people that are not a fan of Chad Kelly, and there's people that he won't win back and they just straight up do not like him. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the Argos. I understand where the shutdowns come from. I'll try to get more out of Dinwiddie on Friday night after the game. It all depends on. Well, I know Mosaic has good Wi-Fi. It's just that's the one thing I've learned this year: how bad some of these stadium Wi-Fi's are. Like BC's not good, Montreal not good, Winnipeg surprisingly not good, but Mosaic I've heard is good, and McMahon we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, welcome to what we've been dealing with since COVID. Pretty much the Wi-Fi struggle with Montreal. The Riders actually have stopped doing post-game Zooms at some places because it's just not worth it. The Wi-Fi is bad and it's a struggle. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Like the Argos have always done it. It's just like this year, like for example, like BC 2 weeks ago, it's pretty much me up at like 1:30 in the morning trying to ask questions. They do they do the press that's on site first,
Yeah.
and then it's just like nothing. And at first I'm like, wait, is it my signal? And then you quickly learn, no, it's not, because it's basically Mike Hogan working with Chris, our media relations football media person, and it's just a fun little thing. But I basically was like, oh, let's hope it works in Regina. And everyone's like, no, it should be fine. I was just surprised with Winnipeg because of how new the stadium is. But with that being said, we've got four really meaningful games this weekend to talk about. And I know I'm saying, oh, meaningful, there's some bad teams playing. Yes. You still don't know officially who two of the teams that are getting left out of the dance are. There still is arguably 6 teams, and there are 7 teams left, and one of those teams is going to be on the outside looking in. So without further ado, we're going to get right into this week's CFL picks presented by Gents Boutique. Code CFL2025 gets you 20% off any purchase of $50 or more. My question for you, do the Riders cover the 10.5 points? I know it's going to be Jared Daggy at quarterback. I know it's a banged-up Argonaut squad. I saw your report. There's some Riders players playing. There's some ones that are out or questionable. We'll get the depth charts in about, say, 12, 13 hours from now. I'm going to go with Saskatchewan to win the game just because I feel like they're that men on a mission. But I still feel like for as much as, like I said, goofy and weird as this Argonaut season has been, they're still going to play for team pride these last 2 games.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Riders, I fully expect to win this game. Well, like you said, they have something to play for this weekend more than just pride. They can lock up first. This is their best chance to kind of handle business themselves. Yes, a Calgary loss also means they get first, but they want to be in control of their own destiny.
You want to win to get in.
Yeah,
you want
to build kind of some positive momentum going into it, because right now there's a little bit of momentum, sure, but not too crazy. Not like the BC Lions have right now when you talk about positive momentum. So you want to go in on the right foot. Here's a prime opportunity to do that. Kind of work out some of that rust, as I said, of the offense, of getting these guys back in for the first time really all season for some of them. It is I know the line is like 10.5 or whatever it is at this point.
Yep.
I always hate going above double digits, like betting against that, but I think the Riders do it. I think this is a team that the Argos, we can talk about pride all you want. I've covered Riders teams out there for pride and they get blown out 36-3 or something like that. It's tough to go places. The Riders are wearing their Obsidian Green jerseys. It's the lights out game. They're going to want to put on a good performance for the fans and make this the last time you see some of these starters as they kind of get some rest this season.
Is this their last home game of the year, by the way?
They close the season out against the BC Lions at home.
Ooh, that could either be a spicy one or that could be a nobody's playing.
The hope is no one's playing for the Riders so they actually go on the road to Winnipeg, their second last game. So do you want to maybe give guys that week off, because it's going to be a tough game. Winnipeg's tough to play and it's a physical game, and maybe play the starters a quarter or something instead of a month off? It's going to be interesting how this team rolls out if they do clinch first place this weekend.
So from experience with the 2023 Argonauts when they were 16-2, the thing I could see happening for next say if Saskatchewan wins this week, first in the West is theirs. If there's cash some runs home. Basically, if the Rough Riders win, and there's a few guys that are banged up where it's like, hey, if this game meant something, if we were still fighting for our lives, they'd be playing. But you know what? We're going to give them the week off. I think it's that player. So, say, for example, it's like, say if KSB, he's not 100%, where it's like, hey, we're not going to play him out of precaution, but we'll probably maybe give him some time against the BC Lions. Because at that time, too, there's a good chance BC's not playing for nothing either. And they, at this rate, probably you're going to lock up second in the West. Which we'll talk about them in a little bit. Obviously, they're the one team. They got Turkey week off. They got Turkey time off. But with everything with this game, I still look at Toronto to cover it just because they haven't gone their doors blown off by anyone not named the Hamilton Tiger Cats that much this year. It was only the first game of the year against Montreal where it truly happened, where it was like, oh, they really lost by like double digits, like I said, excluding the Ticats games.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I just think too that like I said, they'll keep it close, but I'm excited to see if they do include Tucker Horn, if Max Duggan gets included. Lack of a run game's been disappointing. The offensive line, I think that's another reason why Chad Kelly has not played at all this year. It's something Dinwiddie has said on the record, even if it is in the heat of the moment. I still believe that's the case. Mm-hmm. But ultimately with this game, it's just, like you said, Saskatchewan's wearing the Obsidian Greens. It's going to be a rowdy atmosphere Friday night at Mosaic. It's just really a matter of how much do the Argonauts give it to the Riders more than do the Riders give it to the Argonauts? Because if the Riders give it to the Argonauts, this is going to be a blowout. This is going to be, get the belt out. But if the Argonauts hold their own, I'm not saying they win, but I still think they keep it around like a 7-10 point game. That's why the 10.5 scares me. If it was like 9.5 or 8.5, I'd probably lean Sask. But the 10.5 points really scares me.
I just think the Argos, they're missing Nick Arbuckle, who's been the heart of that offense, really, and how he's played. Wood McManus is the heart of that defense. They're losing a part of the team. They're losing, like, I think Anthony Lanier hasn't been playing. I don't remember all the outs from the Argos, but Coxie and Polk have been dealing with injuries. They just seem really beat up right now against a Riders team that has most of their starters.
So for this week, per the team, Nick Arbuckle out, DeMonte Coxie out, Sage Docksader out. Dylan Giffen's available for the first time in a while. Anthony Lanier is still out with an ankle. Wynton McManus, George Moore, Jeremiah Ojo all out. Ryan Seaver out, and Mayan Williams also out as well. So there's quite a lot of guys out on top of Tavares Daniels also being out. So it's pretty much, unless Jake Herslow or Dejan Brissett has this like unbelievable game, it's going to be a lot of like dink and dunk offense. I don't think you're going to see. It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be pretty from the Argos. I think it's just more about like, are the guys, which I don't think so, are they checked out or not? Which that's why I kind of have faith in them, because I know Ryan Dinwiddie will hold them accountable, even though they are 5-11 and even though their season is done.
No, we'll find out, won't we? We'll see how that game goes.
We're going to find out in about 50 hours from now. And then Saturday afternoon, I have nothing else to say with this game. Hamilton versus Calgary. For as good as they looked throughout the year, Calgary is one of those teams where it's like they started hot, but then the flame is quickly extinguished. Like, I don't know what happened. Ever since that Labor Day loss against, not Labor Day, but like the rematch when they went up to Edmonton, they just hadn't looked the same. There was that one game, too, where BC came in and just completely dominated them. They acquired Lorenzo Malden. Still didn't do much last weekend. BC took care of them. And you got a Hamilton team who there's two factors to them. They're trying to rewrite history, and they're playing for a purpose, obviously, since the tragic passing of Ted Gavaya.
Mm-hmm.
They're only 2.5 point favorites. I think this is a bigger game. I think this is the kind of game Hamilton, like they got right last Saturday. This is more of them saying, like, hey, we want first in the East because that boogeyman who speaks Quebecois is hovering over your shoulder. That's the thing.
Yeah.
DA is putting the league on notice. He's just like, I'm back. And it's just like, everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I can't open my game notes on my phone, but I believe Hamilton can clinch first place with a win this weekend. I'd have to double check that.
I will look it up for you.
They're playing for something, as you mentioned. And the Calgary Stampeders are who we thought they were. We came into this season, a lot of smart football people didn't have them having a great year. And I think they took a bunch of people off guard to start the season. I think they surprised a lot of people. And now they've kind of regressed back to the mean. It feels like the Hamilton the Calgary Stampeders they're not quite there, and they're missing guys. Yeah, but everyone's missing people. That people have figured out the Slowick defense a little bit more, right? That's what it feels like, and they've regressed to what we thought they were after catching a bunch of people off guard.
That's just it. Because I remember when we first spoke, I was always very not skeptical on Calgary, but I was very like, I want to see what they are. And like week one, I was like, you know what? Hey, Hamilton, I didn't realize had a bad track record week one. Week two, they go in Toronto. Toronto's still trying to figure it out with Nick Arbuckle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started stringing together wins. They had those two huge wins against the Bombers early in the year, the Stampede game, all that stuff. And then it's just like, and then there's some games where it's like, okay, what are you? It's more like, does the ugly head rear its, ugly self more, which it has. And then, like I said, with Hamilton too, Hamilton's just got more than their offense playing really well. That Hamilton Tiger Cat defense is really stepping up its game. Like they basically licked their chops. They got their chops licked against Winnipeg when they didn't get off the plane and lost 40-3. Next weekend they respond by just giving it to Toronto 47 points, doing all that stuff. So I really think that for as much as, like you say, Saskatchewan wants to clinch first in the West, Hamilton really wants to put a stranglehold on first in the East on a Saturday afternoon in front of over 20,000 strong at Hamilton Stadium. Because like I say too, they got to go to Montreal again. I don't think they want to make a trip to Montreal. They want to make sure that any trip to Winnipeg goes through Hamilton.
Yeah, Montreal is the scariest team, I think, in the entire CFL right now with Davis Alexander. When he's healthy, they haven't lost. They don't lose when he's playing. And but yeah, I was right. They can clinch first place with a win over Calgary this weekend. And I think they do it because Calgary, they are stumbling right now. And I think they can easily cover the 2.5. I think they can win by a touchdown at least in this one.
I just see the touchdown. I think it's still the books being like, hey, we have faith in Calgary to like kind of have a bounce back. But I'm just like, look, I thought the get right game was going to come against Montreal, and the Montreal was just like, nope, we're going to blow their doors off. And the fact that they just lost all these games in a row, I don't know if Dave Dickinson's job is in jeopardy, but if they go from where they were to, if they miss out on the playoffs or have to be the away team in a crossover scenario, there's going to be quite a bit of questions to be answered in Cowtown, especially considering, look, I know it's not much, but you're going into a Grey Cup hosting year with an aging core. You have a defense who looked incredible, and then a couple guys got hurt. Obviously, Flo, Jalen Hutchings, that's why they brought in Lorenzo Malden, or Hitchings, excuse me. There's so many questions to be answered with that football team going forward where it's like, okay, what is our makeup and what are we? Obviously, Reggie Begelton's been out, I believe, still been out for a while because I remember he got hurt in the Argo game.
Yeah.
So it's easy. It's Hamilton in this one. And then we have Saturday night, Edmonton hosting Winnipeg. Edmonton's the perfect they are who we thought they were team. You know, they're getting some wins. They're well coached. It's just they need to. I think they're kind of like the Buffalo Sabres of the CFL world, you know, where like they'll get off to like this like weird start and then they'll start winning games when it doesn't mean really anything. To where they'll probably be the third. Actually, yeah, that answers my question. They'll probably be the third team out, but for them, it's about finishing strong for next year. I think Cody Fajardo is the guy there. I don't think you do that. I think for as much as Trey Ford would be the guy, if Ottawa comes to you and says, hey, we'd like to take a shot at Trey, I think you make that deal. I think you have Cody be your quarterback one. I think he's showing that, like, hey, when you doubt Cody is when he's at his best. But with that being said, the fact that Winnipeg can calmly, and Mike O'Shea can calmly say after a bad loss, yeah, I still believe in my guys, that is incredibly scary. So no matter who they are playing come playoff time that first week, so say if it's them BC, get your popcorn ready Saturday, November 1st, because that could be an electric-defying game. But with this one being here, they're coming off the bye. We saw what they're capable of. I think they take care of business in Alberta Saturday night against the Elks.
See, and I like Edmonton to come out and kind of keep playing well. They're the ones playing for their playoff lives right now. Justin Rankin just got re-signed. They're feeling good. Cody Fajardo has this team kind of believing in themselves a little bit. And yes, Winnipeg came out really and laid a smackdown with Zach Collaros back. But I still think that there's some issues in Winnipeg that haven't been addressed yet. And one game does not make a season.
But here's where I didn't finish my statement.
Oh.
Give me the Elks on the points, but the Bombers to get a win. Like, you know, kind of like edge one out, kind of like win by like a point, like get like a Sergio Castillo, like 55-yarder to like win the game like 36-33 or something crazy like that. Like, I do think the Elks keep it very close. I think it's a very back and forth game. I just think if you're Winnipeg, you're really, because I think if Winnipeg were to lose this game, for as much as Edmonton's playing for the playoff lives, if Winnipeg loses this one, it really raises a lot of those questions again of like, you know, what are the Bombers? Like, is it just like it's an up and down roller coaster? Because, you know, hey, we've won games throwing three passes, and we've won games where we absolutely dominate the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So it's kind of like which Blue Bombers team shows up. So I do think Edmonton keeps it close because Edmonton's been really good at that lately. They've been keeping games really close ever since they lost Labor Day. They beat Calgary, they beat the Riders, they lost to the Argonauts by a point. But for Edmonton, it's just more about can you prevent those self-inflicting wounds that precede the losses? Because that's kind of what cost them against Toronto, and that's also what cost them against Hamilton as well. So we'll see which Elks team shows up or which Bombers team shows up. So Bombers win, Elks on the points. That's how I view it.
Fair enough. I think the Elks can win straight up. I think that is a team that will surprise some people this weekend.
Because if they win this weekend, it's kind of like it's just the chaos. Like, you think the chaos is dying down? Nope, it's not.
The West is wild, absolutely, this year.
On that note, with the West being wild, before we get to our last game, the BC Lions, I feel like they're the same thing too, but it's just like when they're on, they're on. Like, we've seen what, like, for example, like how they went from, like, what the team I saw in August when they came here against Toronto, and Toronto put up 52 on them, to the team that went into Calgary and took care of Calgary. There's some Jekyll and Hyde with the squad, but they have something on their team that's been very, very not unnoticed, but I think some is reemerging, and that's the play of Matthew Betts returning to his all-star form. When he is playing at that caliber of a clip, you're not stopping him. And another great player for them too, I have to say, Keon Hatcher. He had another great game last Friday. I believe he had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards receiving. So they're the kind of team that if they're clicking. And also too, they're running the ball great with James Butler. They really are that Winnipeg Blue Bombers where they can kill you in the air and they can kill you on the ground as well. No matter who, whether it be quarterback, running back, receiver, they're just like, they'll find a way to do it. They'll beat you ugly or they'll beat you clean.
Yeah, the BC, absolutely. Their defense has turned it on recently. They've been really good offensively. Of course, Nathan O'Rourke is kind of showing the Nathan O'Rourke that we're used to seeing, instead of the struggles that he kind of had to deal with. Matthew Betts has been world class recently. The only issue you have with the Lions are 2 things, in my opinion, come playoffs. A, does the Lions defense regress back to what they have been most of the season? Are they who we thought they were? And this is just kind of a stretch. And 2, have they peaked too early? Because they've had to play kind of elimination type football recently. They've been playing well, but is this the best? Do they keep it going for another 3-4 weeks like they will need to get to the Grey Cup? I'm not sure if that's the case, especially if they come to Saskatchewan and it turns into a blizzard out here in the West Final, when Nathan O'Rourke can't just sit back there and throw it the whole time. They're not going to be at BC Place and have the perfect conditions, right? How do they handle that? We'll have to wait and see how that goes. So that's the concerns with the BC Lions, but absolutely right now, they almost look unstoppable with how that defense is playing right now.
There's many facets to their game where they can kill you, but it's the fact it's more their DB play. Like, they have some good DBs, but if their DBs regress and allow a lot of those big yards plays, because, like, look, I know I'm going to reference Toronto, but it's the team I follow the closest, like you with Saskatchewan. But when they were allowing way too many big of those big yard plays, whether it be Jake Herslow, whether it be Deshaun Brissett in that game, they were just letting guys get open and letting guys make these crazy catches to where if they allow that to happen, it's going to be very hard for them. They basically have to then almost play perfect football to do so. Nathan O'Rourke also did throw a pick 6 in that game. One other player on their team I'd like to highlight is Aiden Eberhard as well. I feel like he's the kind of guy where he'll, like, every few weeks he's like kind of like, oh, like how I brought up Keon Hatcher, but then Eberhard will come in and be like, oh, he just made another good play. Oh, he just made another, like, really good catch, or oh, he had a nice little yardage there. So they can get you in a variety of ways. It's just really up to them of, like, where do they go from there. They're the kind of team, they control their own destiny. They control how far they go. If they'll be in Winnipeg come November 16th, or if they'll be, with the Argos, Red Blacks, and the rest of the CFL in Cancun.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, right? Eberhard was key to that team early as they kind of struggled a little bit offensively. He really stepped up and kind of caught some people off guard. Justin McInnes is another guy who's reemerged. There's so many guys on the Lions that have kind of reemerged as they've kind of figured it out this season. James Butler, well, he's so good. He's one of the best. He might be the best running back in the league. Bray Oliveira, maybe give him the edge, but when you look at it, they're so good. They're so talented. Like I said, the main concerns come what happens in playoffs. They have sucked against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season. Nathan O'Rourke in his career has struggled against Winnipeg. If they face them even at home, can they get it done? We'll have to wait and see. You go to Saskatchewan, where the Riders have beaten them every time they've played this season. So it feels like for the Lions, they'll have to play perfect football, like you just said, in order to beat these teams that have dominated them this entire way this season.
Yeah, because, like, even against Toronto a couple weeks ago, Nathan O'Rourke still threw 3 interceptions and they still won the game because, Matthew Betts just was a game wrecker. So that's where I mean, like, hey, if the offense doesn't pull its weight, the defense can pull its weight. But if the offense and the defense aren't pulling its weight, it's going to be an early exit for them. Like they'll still be in the playoffs. I think it's just really a matter of them. Are they home on the second, or are they home on the first, or are they away on the first? That's all. That's all. Like I said too, if I stumble over my words there, some exciting stuff's going on behind Britton and I's monitors right now. But no, they did. I know we can say every team can kind of control their own destiny, but we all kind of know who the dogs are to play. Like right now, if I had to pick personally 3 teams I think will be in Winnipeg come the end of the year, I think it would be Hamilton, Montreal, Saskatchewan, I would say are the 3 teams that like most likely. And then you have the BC, Winnipeg, and Calgary, where it's kind of like they control their own destiny. They control how they will control how far they go. If they play good, if they play bad, it's really up to them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Winnipeg maybe a little higher because they have that experience,
They find
right?
a way.
They find a way. They know how to win big games. And I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think they will because their margin for error is so small now. They used to be talented enough where they can make some mistakes and overcome it. They can't make as many of those mistakes anymore. But boy, in a playoff game, it's really tough to count them out no matter where it's being played.
They also have a Val as well, which is another secret weapon to their arsenal. So they have every team has the tools. I would basically, if I were to give like grades, I would say like the 3 teams I mentioned are like a 7 out of 10, and then Winnipeg's like a 6. Not a Jim Leahy 6, but a 6.
Yeah.
And then Monday we finish, and I know people would like to see this matchup on Labor Day, but I kind of like how it sits on its own Thanksgiving Monday with Montreal and Ottawa. I kind of like how hey, Labor Day you have the 3 games: the Toronto, Hamilton, Winnipeg, Sask, Calgary, Edmonton, and then Ottawa, and then just BC's just kind of like in that Squidward meme and SpongeBob when him and Patrick are running outside, and he's kind of like inside looking down on them all sad. But I like how this game is Thanksgiving Monday. 1:00 start. They get their own thing. I know they do like the turkey tailgate stuff. This, however, is believe it's 13.5 points. I'm going to wait for the ticker to come around to confirm the number because I wrote this like a few hours ago when I was doing show prep. It is 13.5 points. I think the Montreal Alouettes. What's the word I'm looking for? I paused for a while. Comfortably. I was almost said carefully. I think they comfortably cover the number because when I look at this Alouettes team, they're firing all cylinders at the right time. And with Ottawa, it's kind of like you don't want to look at it, but it's just kind of like they're more limp. Like Toronto is literally limping to the finish line because of all the injuries they have. Ottawa's metaphorically doing it, where it's just like one game after another. It's just we all know Bob Dice is probably going to be fired at the end of the season. It's just they are just like get us to the end of the year. They play Montreal twice. It's kind of like time to take your punishment. You got to play Davis Alexander twice in the same week. So for this game here, I just think it's Montreal showing more of like, hey, this is who we are.
I agree, but I kind of hedge that with if Hamilton clinches first place in the East, kind of a 2 days before because they play on the Monday, you have to does Montreal sit some guys? Is there an emotional letdown because that you can't get first? That's the only concern I think I have with the fact that they can't cover is an emotional letdown. I've seen it happen with the Riders as well, where last year they had an emotional letdown because Winnipeg just hours prior clinched first place, and they went out and played like terribly against the Calgary. It was just how it is. So that's my concern about them covering that big of a spread.
The way I look at it is just Jason Moss is the kind of coach to where he's going to 2 on 2 out. Jason Moss is the kind of coach where I don't think he'll do that. I don't think he's gonna, he's still gonna play for pride. I do think though, if they win this game Monday and Hamilton does clinch regardless, it's the last 2 games of the year you're slowly gonna see. I think that's where it's kind of like I believe they play next Saturday. I think it's Saturday. Yeah, Saturday because they wouldn't do Monday. They wouldn't have them play Monday and Friday. No. CFL I don't think has quick turnarounds like that. I do think though that it'd be next weekend or even they finish the season in Winnipeg. So I think with those games, you would see guys sit. I do think Davis Alexander does play the rest of the season though, regardless, or even those last couple games plays a little bit, and then you have MBT. Because this is a team too, and also we're talking about just great overall position players. That Montreal defense is starting to hum. Noel Thorpe at the beginning, everyone's like, do they figure out the Al's defense? No, he found a way to reinvent it. Their players are coming to play. They're getting healthy. Tyson Philpott's been out for a lot of the year too. Same with Austin Mack. I think for them, it's just about finding their footing. But even regardless, I still think this game, there's a sense of pride with that team where even if they finish second, doubt them, count them out. Jason Moss will find a way to make you believe in them. And I would hate to see it, but I would love a Montreal BC crossover game. But I would hate to see it because I feel like that's a matchup that it would be much better suited for Winnipeg. And I know you hate to hear that, but a game of that magnitude is really just like, would be chef's kiss.
That would be something. Well, like I said, we'll wait and see. My concern is this team has already seen what happens without Davis Alexander there. He's dealt with injuries, nagging injuries.
Yes.
They might be more willing to say, just, let's just not. Let's sit, guys. Let's start really getting it there because they have nothing left to play for if Hamilton clinches first 2 days prior.
I can also see they play Davis Alexander, say if they're up like 21-3 at half, they yank him half. I could see that. Like he plays the first half Monday, and then by the second half, it's usually like the starters or the second tier guys that are in there. That's kind of the CFL. Like that's the landscape I can see with what's the magic words I'm looking for, with the Alouettes come Monday afternoon, because the fans are going to want to see them play too. Just like how it's like Davis is back, we're playing great. He's looking to go 10-0 as a starter as well. So I do think though, if there are guys on their injury report that are kind of dealing with the nagging stuff, they'll probably leave. They'll probably sit them for Monday, and then probably play them like the last couple of games of the year. But for the most part, I still think they're going to go out and play strong. And then for Ottawa, it's just there is so much soul searching to do there because of how they went from last year making the playoffs, being like, we're going to grow from this, we got to improve on this, to winning 4 games throughout the year. It's just there is so much soul searching that organization has to do. It's just year after year, it's the same thing. Bob Dice seems like he's a great man. I've got to talk to him before, but there's eventually a point with him too where you're like, you know what? We got to just throw in the towel, get a new coach. And there's a chance Noel Thorpe could be the head coach in Ottawa next year. Mark Mueller could be the head coach too.
Rick Campbell's right there.
That's the thing. I've been saying that all year long. Rick Campbell's there. I just don't know. I feel like, though, if they were to, I think they would rather get a fresh voice in that building. That's the thought I have. I feel like more than wanting to bring Rick Campbell back because he's the easy thing. I think it was more just like, hey, Bob helping a friend out. I don't think that Sean Burke would do that, but at the same time, too, the other thing with the Ryan Dinwiddie thing as well is you probably have to give him GM power, and then Sean Burke gets a VP of football ops title, but I don't see that happening. So I just think they want to get a fresh voice in there. It's kind of like, when you guys let Craig Dickinson go and you brought Corey Mason and look what it's done. I think Ottawa should be looking for a similar approach where it's like a new voice, a new culture, and just a new face of the organization.
I would agree. It just felt like Bob Dice, like you mentioned, great guy, great special teams guy in this league, but it just hasn't worked there, and it's time to turn the page.
I feel like someone will bring him on, kind of like how he brought Rick Campbell on. Someone will bring him in to like help with special teams and stuff like that, or even like just be like not quality control, but like in a coaching capacity, someone will bring him in to kind of help mentor and just shape, and without like the major responsibilities of a head coach. It's something against Dice. It's just like you say, football sometimes is a cruel business where we think about players getting cut and players having to deal with moving around. It's the same thing for coaches too. They take these men take the jobs knowing that they're more than likely going to get fired. Because besides Dice, there's not really another coach you can look at to where they would make a change unless a Mike O'Shea decides to walk away from the job in Winnipeg, which I don't think so, unless Zach is to retire as well. But I believe Zach is signed through next year as well.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's just you can't really look at any other head coaches. The only one I would think maybe Dave Dickinson, but that would be more, a move upstairs than anything else, kind of like what John Huffnagel did. But I still don't see that. And then besides that, there's no one else you're really getting rid of. Like Jason Moss is good. He's won a Grey Cup. Ryan Dinwiddie's won 2 Grey Cups. Scott Milanovich has done a great job with the Ticats, even end of last year, this year. Mike O'Shea is Mike O'Shea. Corey Mace has been great with the Riders. And then Mark Cullum, for as bad as Edmonton season's looked at times, he's really been a good spark there. And then Buck Pierce is really coming along on his own. So it's really Ottawa is the one team where it's like, what are you going to be for 2026?
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting. Like you mentioned, soul searching. I still think Drew Brown's a good quarterback in this league. But yeah, things need to change there.
Things need to change there. 1,000% as we have a another wonderful moment in this game. It's distracting. It's like, oh, we're going to finish right at the right time so we can go watch the rest of the 8th and the 9th innings. But the only thing I'm going to switch to quickly, I'm going to change the banners because I wanted to ask you. Obviously, I know the defense hasn't looked the greatest this year so far, but Dallas had some good games. They took care of business last week against the Jets. How are you viewing things so far with your NFL team?
It's really weird because they have the best offense in the league statistically and the worst defense in the league statistically. The fact that the offense has been so good, I have a little bit more hope than I did at the beginning of the year, because especially when you look at this stretch that's coming up, if this team can very easily win 4 out of 5, and then you're looking at a pretty good record. As the Philadelphia Eagles, they haven't looked the same this season. Washington, it hasn't looked as good as last year, and there's a chance once you get in there, if Dak Prescott continues to play at the MVP level, which he's currently playing at, and that offense keeps like this, you just need an average defense to maybe make some noise, and we'll see if they can get that. But I'm still not fully on the bat. Like, we're going to the Super Bowl mode, but a little bit more positive thinking than maybe I would have thought after the Micah Parsons trade.
Yeah, I feel like Dallas is like that. I think they're the team for me. They are who I thought they were, where it's like, you get to a certain point, they're going to make the playoffs, probably maybe win a wild card game, maybe get to the divisional round. I think Brian Schottenheimer is the right person just because, he doesn't steal any spotlight. He's just kind of, yes, sir, no, sir, I do my job, sir. And then you go from there. But this is another example where it's just they have to take care of business against the teams they're supposed to take care of business against. And then, put up a fight against the teams where, hey, maybe, maybe they're not supposed to win these games. So it's really a wait and see with this team, but I think they're in the right position. And as for right now, there's not really I think this year, for the first time in a very long time in the NFL, there's a lot of parity at the moment, but that could all change on a dime where, look, it's not a guarantee that Kansas City gets to a 4th straight Super Bowl. It's not a guarantee that, Baltimore makes the playoffs. It's not there's not a lot of guarantees in the NFL this year, because I think the AFC is wide open. Meanwhile, the NFC, I think the gap's going to close probably by Halloween or like right before their Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's felt like a real kind of changing of the guard season, a weird start to this year. I mean, who would have had the Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones as one of the best teams in the NFL to begin this season, right? Tampa Bay, I really like what the Buccaneers are doing. They were one of my preseason Super Bowl picks. I like Baker Mayfield. Love to see him get a Super Bowl because the stuff he's gone through and just the overall competitor he is. Big fan of what Tampa Bay is doing.
They were a dark horse team of mine throughout the years. 5-1, by the way. They were a dark horse team of mine not to get to the Super Bowl, but they were just like to be in that mix. That's because there's a difference between being in the playoff mix and being in the Super Bowl mix. I didn't have the Colts thing coming because of my AFC preview show I did at the end of August with a couple buddies. I completely ripped the Colts to shreds and thought Shane Steichen was going to be fired. My boys, the Patriots, got a huge win last week, going 3-2 against Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. And then, it's just there's this beautiful like parity sense of like I was saying earlier. Anyone can win, or there's going to be some teams in the mix that you did not see coming, and that's kind of why I like the CFL so much, to kind of tie it all back to that as I finish on that banner for the YouTube viewers, because there is that sense of no one knows who's going to win, but you think you have an idea of who can win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun right now. The San Francisco 49ers are beating guys with pretty much their practice squad. It's super fun. It's better right now than just having one team kind of dominate, right? You don't know how this season's going to go.
It's truly fantastic. It's truly, truly fantastic to see. It's a wonderful football time of the year. It's Thanksgiving, so we have a lot to be thankful for as football fans. We got 4 great CFL games this week. Britton, my friend, it was a blast to get in to chat with you as always. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you, to yours and yours, and the pups. And you know what? We'll have to chat this up again soon, because before you know it, we'll be talking playoff CFL football, my friend.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good. But anyway, guys, 397 in the bag. 400's right around the corner. Have a good night. And to our Canadians, happy Thanksgiving.